I had friends from OSHA that were on Gravy.
Yeah.
And we went to Bridge and we were not allowed to talk.
Yep.
And it was like, it was explicit. It was like, you do not make eye contact.
We
you
were
do
allowed
not
to talk.
You were, but we weren't.
David
Yes.
Lim, our director of GRV, told us at competition, like, everyone's going to be looking at you because you're the new kids.
Yep.
I want you to be the kindest people you can be. I want you to say hi to everyone. And I remember the moment at Wad Bay area.
Woo.
And then we crossed paths with Young Skulls Club, YSC.
Yep.
And we're like, hi guys. And everyone goes,
Nope, Mad Dog. Because our lives literally depended on it. Because if we had flinched, that would have been burpees. That would have been laps. Like, we would have, it would be punishment.
Hey, the Steezy podcast is brought to you by us, Steezy Studio, the #1 dance app on the App Store and Google Play Store with over 1 million downloads. We provide curated online dance classes taught by the world's best instructors. Why did we create Steezy? To help you reach your dance goals one step at a time. Whether that goal is to perform with the biggest and best musical artists in the world or just be the life of the party at your cousin's wedding. I'm your host, Clay Boonthanakit. Let's get to it.
so, Danyel Moulton,
Hello.
Orange County High School of the Arts and UCLA graduate,
Yes.
former hip hop coach, current hip hop coach at PV, former hip hop coach at PV, Peninsula.
Yep.
Leader of VMO.
Yes.
LFG.
Correct.
Dance Crews. Steezy Studio instructor.
Period.
But of course, the most important credit, a really dear friend.
I mean, it's whatever. We out here.
How's it going, Danielle?
It's so good. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
This is such a beautiful space.
We love having you here. As you can tell, you've been in how many 3 choreographers, 1 songs now?
I'm really a veteran out here in the streets. Wait, how many have it? 4?
I think that's more than anyone else.
That's wild.
Maybe Carlo or someone has been in
maybe.
But yeah, no,
That's
it's not because you're just one of the great dancers. It's also because you're one of the great reactors. Because you're the ultimate hype woman.
I really am.
Everyone knows that.
I pride myself on that.
You should.
I really do.
Because what it is a lot of people can hype people up, but not a lot of people can make a person feel genuinely wonderful about themselves through that hype. You know, sometimes it's just like this.
Hey.
You do more than that.
Yeah.
You're like uplifting them through generations of their life. They're just like, props to you, props to your family,
props to your bloodline,
skills, love your outfit, you know. Yeah, it goes deep. So
I love that.
I'm really thankful for that.
Wow, thank you for voicing that.
Of course.
I mean, that process just now, you've now hyped up all of my previous generations.
There we go. That's what I like to hear.
A two-way street.
Yes,
love to see it.
from all sides of the family. Yes, this is what we love here. So Danielle, today we're gonna chat about dance.
Yay!
Like we always do,
My
and we're gonna
favorite.
talk about your life, your journey, some of your thoughts on maybe like the competitive scene as well, especially because you have 2 competitive teams, and I don't know how one person can upkeep that, and with all of the way that life happens around us, it's kind of wild. But let's start from the very beginning right now. Before we get into all that, I did want to ask something.
Ooh.
So on May 17th, 2020, you had your first Bloody Mary. Tell me about that.
How did you okay, well, yes, we were deep into quarantine.
Okay.
And it was around the time when, at the very, very beginning of like this pandemic, there was like a trend going around where people were like sending you shots on like social media, and like you had to take
Nobody sent me shots.
And you know what I mean? Like, and I declined them. I
did
the boost. We weren't even there yet.
No, you're right.
But they would be like, oh, you have to drink, because everyone was at home, everyone was bored.
Okay.
So then if you got tagged, it was like the push-up challenge. Except instead of push-up, it's like, I nominate you to take a shot and you had to do that.
Got it.
I didn't want to participate in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And then I realized that I was a lightweight, and I realized that I was severely underprepared. And I don't know what happened to me in May, but I was like, I'm a train. I was like, I'm gonna build up this tolerance.
You thought so too.
I'm gonna build it up.
Love
and
it.
I just don't like alcohol like that. And the thing I haven't tried is like savory, like people do like pickle juice.
Yes,
and,
they do.
you know, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me see what this Bloody Mary is about.
Yeah.
And I walked over to this local Walmart. I got myself a little bit of that mix and I tried it. I like it better than sweet drinks. And I didn't think that about myself. And so, yeah, that was why I had my first Bloody Mary. And I did enjoy the experience. Like, I would, like, I'm not jumping for joy at alcohol in this moment, but if I had to pick, it would be something more, like, on the less sweeter side. Wow. Yeah. How did you bring that?
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about
Not you unlocking a core memory for me right now.
Bloody Marys are just gazpacho to me.
I love gazpacho.
I do too, honestly. But I like my alcoholic beverages. Like my whole passion outside of dance is whiskey and cocktails, right? But for some reason, I don't know, something about Bloody Mary, something about micheladas, they don't really do it for me. It's not what I like from these things in particular.
Is it the taste that you can't get into, or is it how it goes down? Like, what about it?
I do actually enjoy the flavor.
Okay.
I think what it is that drinks are often a moment for me to either rest or for me to engage with other people. And in none of those times do I think gazpacho sounds really good right now.
Tomatoes.
You know what I really want to have between this conversation? Tomato. You know?
Okay.
So
fair.
It's just, and then I had a michelada recently and like again, and I tried it and I was like,
it's not it.
It's a lot. It's just really, it's like super tangy.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I don't know. Okay. It's just something about it.
Okay, but follow-up question.
Okay.
So what beverage makes you feel like, okay, I do want to connect? Like, what is your choice? Like, what alcohol for you makes you feel like, yeah, I want to connect with people, or I feel okay doing that?
If it's not going to be just neat whiskey, like Jack Daniel's just released a Jack Daniel's Bonded, which is amazing. It's nothing compared to their like old number 7. Their like standard one you can find at most bars. But now the Bonded is like at every Costco now, and it's like $27 for a bottle, and it's ridiculously good. And this is coming from a person that has around like 60 bottles at home. Yeah. Right? Like this is one of the most ridiculously delicious, affordable like whiskeys. But if it wasn't that, it'd be a Sazerac cocktail.
What is that?
Love a Sazerac. It's Sazerac is, have you had an old fashioned, or you know what an old fashioned is? Yeah. So Sazerac is kind of like a similar way to build your drink. It's still a whiskey beverage, but you would do a absinthe rinse. So just a little bit of absinthe. A lot of times people put it in like an atomizer or just like a spray bottle, so they can just get a light flavor of like anise. And then you have sugar, you have Peychaud's bitters, and you add your rye generally now. Originally it was cognac, but rye. And then you use a lemon peel instead of an orange peel that they would normally do. And you just express that on top. Anyways, it's a whole thing. I don't know why we're talking about this right now.
No, I love it. I love it because you're so passionate about it.
I really love it.
Like that like to see someone who's so like happy about what they're talking about or to share that makes me happy.
Thanks,
okay, I need you to figure out like after this what my drink of choice is going to be, because I need to be an adult, dude, and I need to be able to like have a little cocktail and still
you want to just come over in the next few weeks or something, and then I'll
look at how the universe manifests.
I'll find a way to
wait, please. I just need to figure out something that I can tolerate and still like
that's my favorite thing to do. I love I want to help, no pun intended, distill your mindset and your understanding into what is something that when you're at a bar you would pick it because you enjoy it, not because it's the lesser of all evils. Yeah.
Ooh, that's definitely where I'm at. Okay. All right. So that's happening.
We'll do that.
That's period. Yeah.
How about that dance though?
He's like, all right, nice interview. I'll see you later.
Yep.
Here we go.
We'll start light and we'll go a little deeper,
okay,
right?
Sounds good.
So Danyel, something that I want to know is a little bit of a basis of your like dance journey. Yep. I mean, I know you're from Brooklyn originally, right?
Yes, I am.
But I don't know how you came out to California and something like that. So why don't you give me a little bit of that
basis? I feel
like
I'm on Hot Ones right now, and this is like really fulfilling, like a dream of mine. How do you know these things? So okay, yes, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I didn't stay there for a long time. I stayed until it was like 3. So like I don't even remember that, and then moved over here to California. And how I like broadly, how I started was with gymnastics. That was my whole like childhood. So that was up until I was 15. So I did that for 8 years, and it was like competitive.
Did you want to join gymnastics originally? Oh,
I didn't really have a choice. I enjoyed it recreationally. So like going to the gym and like tumbling, like I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
And then I got put on the competition team. And from there, like I enjoyed doing something, but not at that capacity.
Sure.
And it wasn't until later on in hindsight, the reason why I liked gymnastics was because of floor exercise. But that's where you got to perform. That's where you got to dance to music, and you have to blend it together. So I liked performing. I did not like gymnastics.
Interesting.
So in that sense, like I enjoyed being there, but the physical aspect of it was obviously very tough. And I did that competitively at a very high level. So I trained with Kyla Ross, Michaela Maroney. Like I trained with Olympians. That was my track. That's what I was supposed to do. So it was also weird to see like Kyla at UCLA and I was a dance major and she's over here in the gym and she's like, hey, and I'm like, that's an Olympian and I trained with her. I'm out here doing what? But yeah, so I was supposed to do it competitively and I burnt out. Like I hated it at a certain point. And I remember having an injury that was so bad that we went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, if you continue to train at this capacity, you won't be able to walk at a certain age. And I looked at my mom and I was like, I'm not doing that.
Where was the injury?
Back.
It was your back.
And that's crazy how that.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. But it was back and a lot of my knees. I had things that were going on with the growth. What was it? In my heels.
Oh.
Like it's the... what is it? I would have to put like little cup things as I do floor because of the landing, but it would like stunt my growth. So yeah, there was a lot of injuries that happened within that. And then once I heard that from the doctor, I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But then my mom, who is someone who is now very supportive of my dance career, was like in it to win it. She was a gym mom. She was like, you're gonna go to the gym. She would watch our practices to the point where like I would do something and I would look back and she would like literally correct. Like that was where we were at.
Whoa.
And she was so heartbroken when I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I mean, you've been doing it for so long.
We based our lives. There was a point where my dad moved to Vegas for his job, but we were still training at this gym in Costa Mesa, which was like the prestigious gym. So we moved to Vegas, but we, for a year, drove down every weekend and we lived in hotels so we could go to this gym.
Wow. This was a lifestyle.
Yeah, this was like, we based our life around it. She based her everything around it. And again, the goal was for me and my sister to be Olympians or us to get to that point. So I can now understand as an adult how devastating that is to have that life change. But at that time, I didn't understand what that meant. And I was just like, okay, my mom hates me. And it was to the point where like we didn't talk for like weeks after this happened because she had to process. I didn't know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then after that happened, it was around the time when I was going to go to high school. And I had been homeschooled for gymnastics.
Wow.
So I didn't go to middle school. I stopped at 3rd grade and then went into a homeschooling so that I could be at the gym more. And I could be in a certain group that came in the mornings.
Intense.
So again, now that completely shifts everything because now I'm not doing gymnastics. So she's like, okay, I'm going to try to put you in a high school. She didn't want to put me in a public school. So we saw this ad, or she saw something for OSHA, which is Orange County High School of the Arts. And like, given the fact that I loved watching So You Think You Can Dance, I would just dance to like Michael Jackson music video, just like in the house. Yeah. So she was like, I want you still to be active, so I guess I'll put you in dance. And she was like, there's an audition that's happening. And
she put you in dance?
Well, she was like, this is the only other option. I was like, okay. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew is I wasn't doing gymnastics and I had free time. Yeah. So then it was like, oh, there's an audition happening in like 3 weeks and I want you to try it. And I was like, okay. So I enrolled in, it was a studio called Jimmy DeFore. It's no longer open, but in Costa Mesa. And I took 2 weeks of beginner tap, ballet, jazz, and I just crossed my fingers and I went to this audition. When I say I finessed my way into this art school, I finessed. And I will say that I truly do believe that I did not get in on talent. As a dancer, no way. But I flipped, and I was the only Black girl there. So I know what was up. Wow. And I'm grateful for it in this moment because I wouldn't be here if not. But yeah, I finessed my way into an art school from being a gymnast. So that's kind of how that first started. And then in OSHA or at the high school, I was the bottom of the barrel throughout my whole 4 years. Because I didn't have technique. I didn't understand the etiquette around how to take class or how to be a student. And also the technique that you need to turn in gymnastics is so different from the way that you turn as a dancer. So I had to completely rewire the way that I like moved my body, and no one coached me through that. So I had to just kind of figure that out on my own while I was still being graded for my technique because it was an art school.
Yeah.
So as a commercial dancer, like that's what you're like the first week you go through auditions and you get put in groups.
Whoa.
So I was always in the lowest group of my grade. So
I mean, these groups they're based on performance?
Yeah, they're based on like your performance and like it's part of your grade, but then there's the better of your grade or people that move up 2 groups because they're good or people that stay back because they aren't proficient enough.
That's kind of like a lot of like, that's like Asian schooling.
Very much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it felt kind of like home. Yeah. So I kind of assimilated real quick.
Yeah.
But so that's how that was. So then I experienced just like fighting for my life through these classes. But then it wasn't until junior year where I went to HHI. And then I saw what hip hop was or like what it could be.
And HHI is Hip Hop International. It's this really big competition, worldwide dance competition.
Yep. And the first time there was someone, I was in like an elective jazz class.
Okay.
And one of the girls was like, do you want to do like an after school like hip hop thing with me? And I do not know what compelled me to say yes. Like I cannot, there was no reason for me to say yes. I had anyways, I said yes.
Yeah.
I went and I decided to do it. I really don't know how I did it. Shout out to Wild Card Crew. There's no video and you will not find it.
Watch me.
No, like you.
Watch me.
I shouldn't have said
I'm gonna find that.
The moment when you realize that your life is going to change because you're about to expose me. Okay. Oh no. Damn, why did I say? Okay, here we go. So we prepared, like, severely underprepared, but like the grit was there.
Okay.
And again, because of my competitive spirit from gymnastics, I was like, I'm finna win this thing. We came in with like the t-shirt store costumes. Like,
love it.
I thought I was finna win.
Yeah.
It was giving 24th out of 25th place. Okay. And
not less.
Okay, but I was devastated.
Yeah. Of course.
I was horrified at that. And I cried for days and I was so embarrassed. But then I watched the competition and I like witnessed what it was like to win it. And I was like, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I want. And then to see hip hop in that like stage and that space, I was like, I want to feel like that as I dance. And I knew I didn't feel like that doing jazz, ballet, tap, or where I was at OSHA. So I went back like inspired beyond belief. And then that is where I kind of started my like journey into hip hop as opposed to training in those other styles.
And before you did HHI, did you have an understanding of hip hop dance?
Sort of.
Okay.
This is so random too, but in Vegas, the gym that I worked at or the gym that I like rehearsed at after like we moved there, like for sure, they had an instructor that was part of Cirque du Soleil.
Oh.
And he was a popper. So the owner of the gym had a son who was training with him and they're like, oh, why don't you just like hop into these classes because they saw my floor routine and they saw how I was performing. Yeah. So it was kind of like, oh, why don't you just hop in there? And I did. And then I like liked doing it, but nothing really like came out of it.
Sure.
And so from there, I noticed like, okay, I like this type of music or like popping or like the funk style music is something that I resonate with. So when I hear that, I'm like, okay, like I feel like I sit up a little bit more when I hear that. So again, as opposed to the music I was hearing for jazz, ballet, tap, modern, I would go to hip hop and I'd be like, okay, I feel like I resonate with it more. I enjoyed this class more than the other ones, but that's like the level of awareness I was at. I just knew that I enjoyed it more. I didn't know that that was something that I would want to dive into later.
That's a really big thing though, is how music like influences what we want to learn and how we want to dance. Because a lot of people ask like, I want to start dancing. What should I do? And a lot of times the answer is like, what kind of music do you like listening to? Because like I didn't like G-funk and like popping music originally. I listened to a bunch of like electro. And I'm from Atlanta, and when I was in Atlanta, I didn't enjoy hip hop. Like I listened to like Slipknot and My Chemical Romance, right?
Period.
Yeah. But then when I moved to California, for some reason, like I started appreciating hip hop a lot more. And I started listening to like Das FX and like MF Doom. And I was like, oh my God. Like I got interested in like, because I like puns.
Ooh, yes.
And so that it makes me think of wordplay.
Yeah.
And I got really interested in wordplay.
Absolutely.
And then I started like listening to lyrics instead of just hearing beats. So I think that's a really funny thing, because it's like, I wouldn't have become the popper / dancer I am today, because I'm not a purist popper. But I wouldn't have become that person if I didn't start listening to like G-funk music like on its own, and actually enjoying that. Which is funny because, you know, like Boogie Frantic, like he doesn't even listen to that type of music. Like he loves like Esta. He likes like calm, like just like, I love that. Yeah. So it's, you don't have to do that to be the dancer, but I think it's a good basis for like starting your dance style.
Absolutely.
So did you feel you resonated with hip hop dance?
I would, that's a different question for me now, because when I hear that question, I would answer it like, did I feel like culturally I matched up?
Sure.
And at that time, no, because it wasn't until recently that I felt like I stepped into my Blackness more.
So you've always leaned into your Japanese side.
Very much. So because of that, and again, that's where there's anti-Blackness within this that I had to realize within myself.
Sure.
But again, I felt like that music was dangerous, or that it was something that I shouldn't be listening to. And again, that is from things from my parents or things growing up. And again, there's so many layers to that.
That's a rabbit hole.
But I didn't really identify with it. Like I understood that like, I like hearing it, but did I resonate with it or did I feel a pull from it? No, not at that time. And it wasn't until, again, recently that I understood, like, now I know what that feels like. And if I had that awareness before, maybe I might have said yes. But at that time, no, not really.
So then, because I want to put a pin on that, because I want to come back to that. And so we have this basis of like, all right, you've started dancing, like the ball started rolling already. You went to HHI, you were inspired by these people who were, you're like, I got 24th place. And you looked at first place, like, yeah, I kind of deserve 24th.
Yeah, exactly. I looked up and I said, ooh, like I said, I was, but then I got so mad at my then director. I was like, why did I go in unprepared? Like I felt like I went in blindfolded. Like, why didn't you tell me that's what we were doing? Because I would have been prepped. But anyway, I looked at it and I was like, I don't know why I felt like I was gonna win. I mean, hey, that's the kind of energy we always need to go in with. You know, like we can't control the set when it's on stage. You know, we did what we could to prepare, but that's the kind of nature of competition, right? It's like you think you can be the best you can be in that moment, and then you witness competition. And that's like the importance of it, because it allows you to think, I'm gonna come back again next time. If you didn't have that like benchmark to work towards, then how would you have ever set that new goal? I really love something Evan, CEO of Steezy, he was telling me, he was telling everyone in the company, it was not his saying, it's just something that he heard. But you know, when you are gonna do a marathon, you don't say like, oh, I want to do a marathon someday. And you just start training. And then when a marathon pops up, you're like, oh, sick, I'm going to attend it. Like, that's not how it works. He goes, I'm signing up for a marathon. Now I'm going to train for that marathon. And that's something that's really interesting. A lot of people don't do that on a day-to-day with the things that they are interested in life. But us dancers, we're kind of blessed. The people who are especially like in the SoCal, with California dance community, we were able to have like, hey, Vibe is coming up. Hey, HHI is coming up. Let's build our set. We actually did that. We marathon ran and we trained for that. And then when you hit it, you might not beat everyone else, but next time you watch, you're like, what did those other teams do? You get so inspired. Yeah, but that's the like beauty about HHI is I remember how devastated I felt, but I went from 0 to 100 so fast. And that is what dance was able to do for me. I went from feeling like I'm never coming back here again. I'm never going to sit here I'm never going to be embarrassed in public like this ever again in my life. And then, you know, a couple of sets later, that's the start of my 8-year journey to win this competition. Like
you spent 8 years between. How
from
many
that first time.
Did you do every year?
Every year.
Every year.
Every year. I went back in some capacity.
And then in 2019, 2019 you got gold for the adult USA. finals, and
Yeah,
then
and then
bronze for
finals.
world
Yes.
finals. First female crew to represent America in the adult division at that level too.
Yes.
Danyel, it's 8 years is crazy.
That's crazy. But like you said, that is the marathon.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for it. I got thrown into it, and then I looked at it and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to sign up for this. I'm going to train. I'm going to make sure that I get there. And even though it was it was disappointing every year, there was some part of me that knew I could achieve it. Wow. And I don't know what that part was, but there was something about feeling that devastation every single year that I did not get it, and facing opposition, and then feeling like, I hear you, but wait.
Wow.
And there was something that always told me, like, you'll get there, but you got to just go through it. And something that was pretty cool about that is every single year I jumped up. So the next year after that, it was like 22nd. Year after that, it was like 18th. Wow. Year after that, and it would go up until 2018, I got 4th. And it was right there, and it made me right. And that is like, as a competitive person, that is the worst. I'm like right there. So, but it was in that moment that I think my team at the time, which was LFG, and they've known my whole story with that. When we got 4th, they kind of looked at me like, oh my God. Like they're like, she's either she's gonna explode, or like, this is it. Like she's gonna say like, screw this, I'm over it. But like there was a comfort. And again, it's that little, I don't know what it is, but there was something that told me, it's like, next year it's yours. Because if I move up in the way that I am, then that means that next year I'm at least going to get 3rd. Yeah. That means I go to Worlds. Yeah. Little did I know that I was going to do it. But again, it was that little voice that was like, keep it. And I'm glad that I listened to it. And I don't know what trained me, and it might be gymnastics, I don't know. But what trained me to like not discredit that voice completely. But I think that is what has kept me steady throughout my whole career as well.
Wow. Do you think that, I really don't know. I can't draw a conclusion here, but that voice is definitely something that you've had for such a long time. I'm curious how maybe that voice had shifted, maybe softened in some ways through the community that you built as a leader on those teams. Because these are your crews.
Yes.
These are your crews, and it's something that like we at Steezy all know about you. Every dancer like that knows you knows this about you, is that I would never say a person's a natural born leader, but you have an aura, you have this battle cry and this thing about you that makes people want to follow you through the genuine person you are in that season, which is really wild, because a lot of people, they imitate, and I'm sure that you've had to do some things of that sort in order to be a leader to people. Like, what does, a young kid in college know about leading? How many people was on your crew in college?
Oh my God. I mean, we started out with 13, and then we grew now to 40-ish
people. Yeah. Just they don't just love your dance, they love you. And they're like following you to the ends of the earth. And it's also for you to achieve this goal. Yes. So like, I'm just curious, how has that voice in you, that competitive spirit sort of changed, molded, softened, changed?
Oof, definitely softened.
Yeah.
Because that competitive part of me, or like even like that voice now, is more so in belief of myself. Like, so it's kind of like something happens and you're like, okay, well, you got it. Like you have the tools to keep going. Before, it would be more so like, okay, you're going to prove them wrong, and you're going to make sure you don't get embarrassed. And that like revenge mindset is what kept me going. Wow. So it was like, you can't stop right now because there's people that doubted you, or you can't stop right now because you have goals to do. And again, yes, I do still have goals, and I still do need to prove myself in a way, but that voice over time, and especially after working with Vimo, is like, you need to be supported by yourself first in order to get to where you need to get to. And I found that through Vimo. Yeah. Because at the beginning, and if there's anybody that's listening that was on the first gen of Vimo, I audibly said like I remember being like, this is not a family. I'm not here to be friends with you. I'm not here to do anything. I'm here to win. Yeah. And I'm here to do what I need to do on stage. And that's period. Like, I don't need any distractions. So you come here to practice, you leave all of that at the door, and you do what I tell you to do. Yeah. And that again comes from gymnastics. I was just like, we're going to get it done. I want gold, and I want nothing less. But it wasn't until the first HHI that I went to with Vimo that I realized that I didn't want to do this if I wasn't dancing with people that I loved and I cared about, like family, because it felt different. It felt different to go through that journey with people that you really like wanted to succeed with you and that you felt that same love from, as opposed to doing really dope movement with people that are talented but you don't connect with. But I also feel like that is part of that battle cry, is that I understand that underdog feeling, and the people that are on my team feel that. So when we dance or when we do closers like that, that is like, you feel our like energy in our heart. And I think that I lead by example, and they find their love for themselves through that. So that is like a community that I cultivated in Vimo, or even in like the classes that I teach now, that comes from that voice that is like, okay, if you can believe in yourself, then you can inspire other people to believe in themselves, and you show that through dance. So it's definitely softened, as opposed to you have to win so you can prove this person wrong, or you can show this person that, you know, they made a mistake by not believing in you because you have a gold medal. That's where that voice came from. And again, from gymnastics, that's what I'm used to. But over time, and like kind of experiencing those really like stressful moments, like HHI is stressful. It will test the limits of you mentally, physically, and emotionally. I don't want to do that with people that I don't love and care about. So I think I cultivated that through that voice, but also it's a two-way street, because those people that came into my life allowed me to soften that voice, and now it's very different.
And it's funny because it's like you're not any less competitive.
No, not at all.
You're just not,
not at all.
You're just not running a solo marathon anymore. Now you get to pass the baton to people. You run as much as you can, but you've got people that you can just trust along the way. And you know that they have that same vigor, and a lot of that comes from you, and a lot of yours comes from them. I can't say this for sure, but I believe that those 8 years, like you needed that drive to prove people wrong in the beginning,
absolutely,
to build that momentum, and you needed to go through that journey of softening in order for you to slowly let parts of you flow into those around you, and feel like you could give your energy more generously. Because you can't do that with people you got to be fake around. You can't do that. And
true.
I don't know you to have ever been a fake person. I feel that you've always been authentic in every season that I've met you, no matter how much, you know, you or anyone around is going through our own individual defenses and such. Like I just always respect that about you. And I know the people around you on your crews absolutely do as well.
Oof, my heart. That's wild. Like to hear that, to hear that explained in that way is like eye-opening for me, because I know that in my body and I feel it. And it's hard to explain like that aura or that energy. And it isn't until I had it reflected back to me in my members that I understood that it was stemmed from me originally. And that is something that like I can view the love that I have for other people reflected back to me. So that's even now, like that's an affirmation that I write in my journal, like the love that I give out will be returned back to me tenfold. And that's something that I realize with Vimo, or with the people that I am around. And like you said too, like it's not like I'm less competitive, but before it was, what motivated me to train was gold. What motivated me to train was first place. And don't get me wrong, I will never go into a competition expecting second. I will always go into a competition training for first or wanting first. But the difference now is that is not the judge of my process or my worthiness if I do not get that. That's not going to be like, if I don't get first, that doesn't mean that this set wasn't the best set that I've ever created. Or just because I do get first doesn't mean that this experience was the best one that I've experienced. And now I have the awareness to be like, I can train for that, and I will never settle for less. I'm never going to go into something saying like, oh, well, this person's going to compete, so I guess I'll be fine. Never me. I'm always going to go for that goal. But if I don't get it, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I know that I went through it for some type of reason. So it's now very different mindset wise. So definitely softened over time, but competitive spirit is absolutely still there.
Absolutely. I love that. And we need that. We need that in this age, especially like like latter half of the pandemic vibes. When we're getting back into these consistent competitions, the community is different. Like how many team rivalries do we know now? Wow. It's kind of an interesting thing, because
that's
it's like
interesting to think about.
Because that honestly, it was the stressful and the best part.
Okay, but like, yes, it is the best part. And I thought it was because I was just competitive. And like, there was also parts of like people who think being competitive is toxic.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? So again, like mirrored with that, to be honest, when I was on YSC and there was that AOV, GRV beef.
Yep.
And again,
what year were you on Young Skulls Club?
2014, 13?
13?
Yeah, 13, 14.
Did you ever
was my
go
season.
against me?
Did I go against you? I did Bridge Juniors. Bridge Juniors 2013. I did the zebra set.
Oh, man.
No way.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
So I was on GRV's junior crew, which was Gravy Babies, and she was on AOV's junior crew, Young Skulls Club. But I think I was 2012, maybe 2012 into 2013.
Okay.
Wow. But like literally because our adult teams were rivals, the kids teams we automatically became rivals. We had to.
Yeah. It was to the point, and again, disclaimer, I'm also saying that everything that went down with AOV over the pandemic, terrible. That's horrible. And that's a whole nother, but again, going back to my experience that I've had, I mean, on a YSC, it was to the point where I had friends from OSHA that were on Gravy. Yeah. And we went to Bridge and we were not allowed to talk. Yep. And it was like, it was explicit. It was like, you do not make eye contact.
We were allowed to talk.
You were, but we weren't.
David Lim, our director of GRV, told us at competition, like, everyone's going to be looking at you because you're the new kids. Yep. I want you to be the kindest people you can be. I want you to say hi to everyone. And I remember the moment at Wad Bay area. Woo. And then we crossed paths with Young Skulls Club, YSC, and we're like, hi guys, and everyone goes,
nope, mad dog, because our lives literally depended on it, because if we had flinched, that would have been burpees, that would have been laps, like we would have, it would be punishment. But it was to the point where Maya, one of my friends, she was on Gravy, and we texted each other like, hey, can you meet at the In-N-Out during break? And then we met, like, literally our mom, like, we met at the In-N-Out, we hugged and we said good luck, and then we left. Like, literally, it was to that extreme.
Just undercover kindness.
No, literally like that, but that's wild to me, because like, we were how old, and we were out here doing undercover meetups, like, what were we doing? But like, I'm glad that we still found the want to not let that spirit break us and still be like, no, but you're my friend and I don't care. Even though I would be punished in some way, we'll find a way to make it work. But what you mentioned is like, it was also the best part is the competitive spirit made me feel like I was in a Step Up movie. Oh yeah. It made me feel 100%. Like I had something to fight for. And I was like, okay, taking all the toxic part out of it, it like the adrenaline and just, it riled me up. So and there was that performance at Bridge Juniors, and I talked about this before, is that feeling that I felt backstage of being like, oh my God, like it's a team, right? That feeling, I think I chase now to this day. Wow. I really do. Like, I just remember we were like, amped up backstage, and it was like, you know, you do this, boo, boo, boo. And I know that Gravy went after us. Yeah. So Gravy was like behind. Yeah. And then just feeling that like pressure or like adrenaline of like, that's our biggest competition and they're waiting for us to go. And I was like, let's go then. Like, I loved it. I really did. Like mine. And I think I love it because now I have the awareness to not make it toxic. Yeah. I have the awareness to be like, hey, you know, like, and now as an adult, yes, I have friends that also direct the teams that I compete against. Yeah. And it's to the point where I would audio message and we know what it's like. It's like, hey, I know you're going to be in director mode tomorrow and I love you, but also good luck. I'm trying to see who wins. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to see where we're at, and we debrief after, and it's kind of like, hey, like you deserved it and blah, blah. But I feel like I beat you on that second piece. Like, I love that. And I love having friends that we could be cool like that about, because I do think that friendly competition is what like motivates me to be the best 100%. That I can be. Like, I don't want to, and also for me competitively, I don't want to win against people that aren't the best. I want to beat you at your best. I want to beat you when you are at the top of your game. Yep. That's where I want to be.
Daniel's got some anime. Yeah. Daniel's Goku. Daniel's literally Goku. Like, I'm a beat you to a pulp, but next time you come back better, stronger, so I can beat you again.
And I can do it again. And if I see you when we're off training season, let's get coffee and let's catch up. Like, but I don't know. But even like my energy now is like riled up because I love that. Yes, I am a competitor at heart, and I think I will always be. Yeah. But it is so like motivating and inspiring to be able to like let that competitive spirit out and not let that be something that comes between you and something that pushes you. Or like knowing that one of your friends is going to be at a competition and being like, I know they're going to bring their A game, so let me bring mine and let's see where we add up. And it's also like having the awareness to be like, hey, maybe that day there's a judge that doesn't like my style and they're gonna win, but that doesn't mean that I'm not at the best and that I'm not at the top of my game. So again, not letting the medals or the trophies dictate it, but like pushing yourself to the limit so that you can have the potential to get it. I miss it. Absolutely will. I miss it. I love it.
I'll make a crew that just goes specifically against you.
Period. And I hope you do.
Let's freaking stay. Let's freaking LFN. Let's freaking not. LFC. Let's freaking chill.
Let's freaking chill. Let's freaking catch up.
And then they'll be angrier if we win.
I'll be so
we
pissed.
have a 2-hour rehearsal every 2 weeks. No.
Did you see my? I said, okay, then I'll put a set together in 30 minutes. See, and that's where my brain goes.
It's post like this latter half of the, I can't say post-pandemic, but I'll just say it for now. But this post-pandemic vibes, it's like all these people that were from previous generations that were sort of cultivating that culture and had enough history, had enough of that, like those friendships and rivalries. There was even regional rivalries.
Absolutely.
Like we know who reps the Bay, who reps LA, who reps San Diego, you know? And like you look forward to repping that town.
Yes.
You know, it's just one of those things. But I think like now, we didn't have competition for a long time. In fact, what was everyone doing during that time? Really one of the best possible things for life, one of the worst possible things for competition and dance is that we were just loving on each other and supporting each other. I'm just focusing on my mental health right now.
Right.
Like
Self-care,
they were doing the most important thing for that.
Yeah.
But we didn't have anyone like those like people that had that like slightly toxic element that like pushed other people. You know? So it is interesting where it's like we're in an interesting stage where so many people moved into a space of understanding themselves in a healthy way that it didn't get the ball rolling for a lot of other people. Because I am naturally not very competitive at all. I'm really not. And like, I'm definitely like, I want to be a better person tomorrow. But I don't have this like fight or flight kind of personality. But when I was on Gravy, I attached myself to that. I was like,
oh my God.
And I've just never been, and when I was in high school, when I was on my all-male dance troupe, I was so pumped. But when I battle at competitions, not like not competition, when I battle now, the whole reason is because I know that as a choreographer, I get put on a pedestal a lot. And I know that as a person who's the face of Steezy, I get put on a pedestal. So I go battle because I lose every battle basically. I've only won one battle completely from beginning to end. The rest I lose, and I do that literally to put myself in my place and be like, I'm feeling really dope right now. So I'm gonna go battle and then be like, wow, these people are fire. So like I'm gonna go to a battle like upcoming.
Beautiful.
And you want to know one of the funny reasons why? Because Steezy's YouTube channel is about to hit 1 million subs on Friday, around Friday. And then I was like, I'm feeling really good about myself. I better put myself in my place.
Whoa.
And I'm getting all these like I'm traveling to Mexico to teach. I'm probably traveling like Arizona or something. I've got a bunch of these trips. I'm like, I'm feeling mighty dope.
Right. It's time to humble myself.
I literally like battled to humble myself.
No, but
because I go to battles and people are like, I look at like 80% of the room. I'm like, I couldn't beat this person.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just one of those things.
That is very intriguing to me.
So it's funny because it's literally, it's kind of like the opposite of a competitive spirit.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of competitive in a way because like when I know I'm reaching a point where I feel like I'm really good, I know I need to make space. Oops, I hit my mic. Make space to grow into more. And so I literally humble myself there. Because it's not bad vibes.
No, not at all.
Because I don't lose a battle and
you're not like degrading yourself.
It's not like step up. It's not like what? You know?
Like, no, but like it's like healthy competition like with your own ego and like seeing where you're at and like leveling that so it doesn't get to a point where you can't bring it. Yeah. But that's really intriguing to me because even right now in this moment, I feel very similar. Yeah. I feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, whoa, I'm like achieving a lot and I'm like doing a lot and I'm actually like really happy in life. And I think that needs to change. Like I think I need to, I think I need to humble myself. You know what I'm saying? I think that needs to change. But like like putting yourself in environments where you know you're not the top, or where you know that you can witness other people in that element and it can inspire you, not like degrade you in that way, not to make you feel like you're shit, you should stop, but like to really like, I don't know, like to get out of your own bubble. Like for example, when you're in college, you feel like you're in like that snow globe. That's all there is to offer.
Definitely.
And it's not until
it's like a
you
little
like,
city.
Exactly. But you have to break out of that to know that there's a whole rest of the world and you can do that. But that's what you do for yourself. Is you kind of break out of that like box of yourself in order to like recalibrate. And I think that's very like intriguing. It's
a good time.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm very intrigued by that.
Blessed that I have something like that that's paralleling the things that I do, because that's the same thing for me in whiskey. Is that like I do the exact same things with whiskey that I do with dance. I'm just more of a newbie in there, so I love teaching about it. I love bringing people into something that's generally misunderstood. And I like helping them find what they love about their own personality within that thing. So dance, whiskey, freestyling, choreography, these are all sort of like similar for me in those ways, but I'm more of a newbie in other fields, and I enjoy that. Like I get to restart my journey, but not be from the start, because I'm much wiser in this age now too, you know. It's a good time. We can hold for this.
If you're listening on Spotify, you can't see what I'm doing. You can just hear my voice and the texture of it. And if you can see, hey, what? Hey, what? Where we going with that? Hey, what? Do we going with that? Go, go.
Yep.
And that's really that on that. That's period. So, there's that.
There's that. I do miss the competition.
Yeah, competition.
But I want to move into something else right now. Okay. We talked about how Danyel like basically like damaged her back.
Yep.
Now I want to move into Danyel's infamous move. So Danyel has this move where she like throws her back
out,
and she's like, she looks like a creature from a horror movie with swagger, right?
Ooh.
So
okay.
One question: where did the iconic backbend move come from?
I remember in the very like beginning of Vimo, or like when I was starting it, I was thinking and I was like conceptualizing like what puts me apart from other dancers.
That's a good thing to think about.
I thought about my gymnastics background.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, there's people who they can outdo me in choreo, in numbers, blah, blah, but they do not have my gymnastics training. So I was like, I can put flips in there, but how can I like integrate it into like choreo that potentially my other members can do? Now, I mean, they can't do it. Sorry for the members that I try to make do it. I love you.
Sorry for those who passed away
you know
doing
what I mean?
it.
You know what I mean? Condolences to those that didn't make it out of the practice, the rehearsal. But I was thinking, how can I integrate it? And I remember just like I was like choreographing something, and like I would do this little back move, and then I was like, how can we push it more? And I was like, more. And then I got to a point where I was like, what is this? And I was like, I kind of like it. And then I put it in a piece, and like, I think after that, I continued to hear that same like sound, or like that little like zoom, like I felt like that became a signature for me. And then I got to the point where I would use it a lot, and people would like notice me for it, and they'd be like, oh, Danyel, like the back thing. And I started getting annoyed. Because I was like, I don't like being stagnant, or I don't like people knowing me for that. So I would think, okay, how can I upgrade it every time? So I found that there's variations to it. So yes, it is the same back move, but by the time that you train enough to do what I've done, I've already done version 3.
That's the way.
So that's where I'm at in terms of how can I upgrade it every time. So I think every set I have, there's some iteration of that move that I do, but it's either everybody does it, or I do it in a different way, or it's alluded to it, but it's not me that's doing it. So finding different ways to like vary it up. But yeah, that's where it started from. It just kind of started from early Vimo. What can I do that the other choreographers in the game cannot? And that was bend their back, and I decided to go with it.
Do you have an official name for the move?
No. Like people just say it's like the back break move, or like there's the typical thing when people take my classes, like I'm ready to break my back. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, ice yourself after.
Can I give some move name suggestions? All right.
And let me hear it.
I made a few suggestions here.
Give it to me.
Final Spinal. Not torso, but torse. No. And then the last one I have is back crack attack that smacks like Applejack.
I am using that third one. One more time.
Back crack attack that smacks like Applejack.
Back tag a crack that smacks
Back
like
crack.
Applejack.
Back crack
Back crack
attack
that
smacks
like
Applejack.
Like Applejack.
Applejack is a kind of apple brandy. It's like an alcohol, but you can make a really strong Applejack, and it smacks you like that. It's a back crack attack that smacks like Applejack.
I need it copyrighted. I need it. Okay. So
Yep.
I'm stealing that.
There you go.
And I will credit you every single time.
Thanks.
Wow.
Thanks. I was surprised that one won. I thought Final Spinal. It's like
No, that's a good
it's
one.
like a Mortal Kombat move.
Final Spinal is going to be like the name of my vibe set for next year. It'll be called Final Spinal.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love this.
You should do a like just weird sets like this whole set's like a chiropracticianer. Wait, what is the thing?
Practitioner?
No, but what's the
Chiropractor?
But what's the field, not the position? To chiropract? I'm gonna stick to dance.
Me as well, and
I'm gonna stick to.
It'll be okay. You know those like back cracking videos you see on TikTok?
So
I'll just make
satisfying.
a whole set to those sounds.
Wait.
Final Spinal.
Wait.
Final
It's
Spinal.
It's fire. Final Spinal.
Wait. Right. That was a good one. Did you feel that? Hey. What? Okay, so you know what? You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Yep. Something I was really curious about. I don't feel like I get to ask people this question in particular. So your style of dance, the way you move is known to be very full out. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't know, maybe that comes from some inspirations in the past. Maybe you watch dancers before and you're like, I love that they're always full out. Maybe it's the gymnastics. And I was thinking about was there a style in dance that you actually wanted to have? And you are or you aren't in your early days at least.
Whoa. Okay. Wow. Okay. I was talking to a friend about this the other day and like how my style, but also my like maturity within dance has evolved. Because before, obviously as I started, one of the teams that I saw off rip from HHI was Royal Family, period. So that has been a huge foundation and inspiration in terms of moments, in terms of like how I structure my movement. And same thing with Chapkiss, Melvin Timms, like same thing. I formulated from there. So I use like the same type of music, or like I like doing things that are super full out because it challenges me. So if I don't feel challenged, then I don't feel like I can like perform it at a standard that makes me feel good.
Sure.
So that's just where I'm at. And again, that does come from gymnastics too. It comes from the like, if you're not like sweating, you're not working hard. Or like if you're not, and then in the toxic way, if you're not injured, you're not working hard enough. But again, that mindset is where it's at. So it was always like full out, or always, and it comes from that revenge mindset too. I always felt like I was fighting for a place at the table. I always felt I was trying to prove myself, and that's how my choreo came out.
Yeah,
I didn't
influences how you move.
That's just how I honestly felt. So even to the point where I watch old Vimo sets and I feel emotional because I don't like the version of myself that I see, or I don't like where that movement came from because it came from a lot of pain. So when I watch that, yes, I see like the full out in the visuals and the audience reaction, but I like think of where I was at, or where that stemmed from, and that stemmed from a very revenge mindset.
Yeah.
So as time evolved, I obviously that got softer, but at the beginning of my career, I was like, I wish I could choreograph like a slow R&B dance. I wish I could be like that, like smooth, sexy, feminine dancer, but I didn't feel that. So I couldn't choreograph it.
Yeah.
So, but at that time, like I didn't watch Cookies or The Company. One, because I didn't identify with their style because they usually did one song sets, or they did very slow movement. And then I thought like, oh, that's not something that interests me. But now, like And I was talking with my friend about this because he was showing me like old company videos or cookies. And I was like bawling my eyes out watching it as like an adult or watching it as someone that has the awareness to understand the technique or like the story behind it. And realizing like, oh my God, these are masterpieces. But when I watched it before, I didn't understand it.
I totally
And just
didn't
because
before.
if the music wasn't boom, 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 I didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, serving it like on a like clear silver platter, people's faces.
Yeah, like you're gonna react to this or you're gonna be hyped. And again, that is my style and that's what I love doing. But now I understand like, oh my God, there's a whole nother side to softness of dancing, or there's a whole nother side to like being patient with like letting the audience like understand the story or like formulate their own ideas about it and not like force feeding them entertainment all the time.
Well,
so
actually, sorry, question. Does a portion of that sort of attitude of like being able to serve dance in a way that's really digestible, does that come from maybe when you were in high school, you were in the commercial dance conservatory?
Yes.
How much influence was from there?
I think a lot.
Dance.
Yeah, commercial dance. So again, there's two sides to that because even in high school, you're taught to like, you have to put your best foot forward and you have to train yourself to be picked for these auditions and do all of that. So then again, that's like freestyling in commercial dance is very different from freestyling that I'm in now.
Very
Freestyling in commercial dance is you show your tricks, you show off, you get the job.
Yeah.
Freestyling now is therapeutic, healing for
Expression.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
So now those are totally two different, but then that shows my mindset that I was at in high school going into college. But then college is, when I was at UCLA, the dance major, it was completely flipped on my head.
Oh.
The audience was not a priority when you created work. And that is something that bothered me deeply. It bothered me deeply because when I create, I always create with the audience in mind.
Yeah.
Are they going to be entertained? If you're paying to come watch me, you're going to be entertained. I'm not going to leave you guessing or leave you like in the dark. But I didn't understand that in college that there were two sides of that. So they would be like, oh, that's cool, but let me see it without music. And I'm like, no. I said, no, but I added 3 beat kills here and you're not going to understand it. And then them or explaining that like having the audience not understand what's going on could be a creative element to that work. And I was like, no, it's not, because then they're going to be lost and then they're going to be thinking about. So again, that whole concept got turned on its head. So then now as I choreograph and I like conceptualize, I'm thinking about both of those elements and thinking about what, because someday I might want to be like, boo, 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 boo in your face and you're going to get this beat kill and you're going to figure it out. And now as I kind of mature a little bit, I'm thinking about how I can evolve my career to have that like patience or let the audience kind of like sit in what I'm giving to them and then by the end feeling some type of resolution or maybe even not. But before I didn't understand that in any way, shape or form. And I think that my style is now evolving to like push that other part. So that's as of like right now, presently in this moment, even now as I'm preparing for WOD. WOD Championships, Vimo is headlining.
Wow.
So it's different. It's different because I don't have to prove myself. I'm headlining. Like they asked me to do this. So there's part of me that feels obligated to do what they asked me to do, what Vimo usually does. But there's another part of me that's like, I want to push it. I want to do something different. I want to do something that people don't expect and I want to make them watch it. And I'm going to make them, I think I'm going to put in my career where I don't have to prove myself, but I can just, I don't have to create art to be critiqued and judged. I can create art to just express and that be okay. And I have to be okay with the fact that not everyone's going to like it. But if I like it, that's the only thing that I care about at this moment. And that is a very different mindset than I was when I was in college creating Vimo or starting to create work for stage.
I think that it's such a interesting way to look at dance because no way is the right or wrong way. Like
absolutely.
I've always said it. I say it in a bunch of podcasts too. Like I firmly believe that you're allowed to start dance for whatever reason you want to start. You want to attract someone.
Sure. Go for it.
You want to be the best in your game. Sure. You just want to do it with your family. Those are all wonderful reasons. But it's interesting because they all serve their own purpose. But also I think how you originate your dance it really matters to understand that about yourself, because it allows you to grow more towards the direction you want to grow in. Commercial dance is very often, how can I give people something? And in a way, like I think this is a crass way to approach it, because I don't think it's 100% true, but a lot of commercial work, things that you're serving to people, it sort of treats the audience a little stupid.
Oh, yes.
Like, they're not going to get it. So I'm going to make sure they get it. I'm going to throw it in their face. I'm going to, and I'm thinking about this also like in videos. I make videos every day. And it's interesting because I can educate people without treating them like they're stupid.
Yes.
That's a hard,
absolutely.
It's not an easy thing to always do, especially when you're like, I have the ability to throw everything on the screen. This color works better because this is going to grab their attention. And then you start making like an infomercial at that point. You know, a lot of people's dances are like that. This is all the things it does for you. This is everything that you're going to get out of it. The music sells in this moment. And then the space that you're sort of moving into is not what can people experience from you. It's what they can experience through you. The resolution is not always there. There's no ending point when it goes from you to them. It transfers, it flows. They think on it later.
Yes.
And that's when dance becomes something different than serving dance. I'm not giving you a routine. You're experiencing this routine with me. And those are the things when I watch Cookies, when I watch Company, that like, I was bawling. It was days after, months
sits
after.
with you, days
literally
after.
Now thinking about that, thinking about the Common Ground set.
Stop!
The Army, the War Common Ground set. The first time, if you guys haven't seen it, I'm not sure exactly what year it was, but
oh my God,
it was Common Ground Dance Crew, and they did this army set, and it was like people going off to war. It was and the first dance set I've ever cried watching. Like, I get emotional thinking about it right now. It's so good. It inspired me so much.
But it's that, though. It's the things that sit with you for a long time. Because I had that same moment when I watched the Orphan set from Cookies. And I remember, like, and, like, again, it makes, like, in that moment, I understood that was not a style that I was familiar with, and I wouldn't usually gravitate toward it. But I could not deny how I felt sitting in that audience, watching it live, and like watching the people around me process it at different points in the set, and like feel the impact that they were like, and you felt that this impact reached past the 4 minutes that they were on stage. That was an impact that, like, it lasts again until this day for so many people, because again, and when I said Orphan set, there was a physical reaction that it was like, oh my God, I remember where I was at when I saw Keone go center. I remember where I was at when I saw them put the blanket on this, like, and it's those type of sets that sit with you and that change you as a person. It's not like you're just digesting something and you're like, oh, that was cool, I want to do that one day. You watch those sets and you think about yourself and you're like, do I align with those morals and values? Do I want to do something like that one day? Can I reach out to this organization and call that number that was on the screen? Like, it makes you think about yourself as a human as opposed to as a dancer. I don't want to improve myself as a dancer in skill. I want to improve myself as a human, and then that will reflect within dancing. I want to produce work like that.
That's the biggest thing, right? Exactly what you said. I firmly believe that dance is always best served as a reflection.
Oof, yes.
And but the hardest thing about that is like, I said in a previous podcast that it's a personal belief. No one else has to believe this, but I always say that I don't believe dance is best served as an escape. I don't believe it. And I get it. A lot of people do escape into dance. But no matter what, dance is a reflection.
Period.
And which is why, like, you kept saying, like, I look back at that set and I remember who I was. I remember how I felt when I made that. And it's more about, if you know it's a reflection, it allows you to approach it in a more authentic way. Because I think about you doing this in college all the way till now. You were always still reflecting those feelings.
Every time.
And your peers, they were there with you. I'm sure they were all experiencing their own things. And you didn't do anything wrong by having, this fire, this vigor. But it's just acknowledging that I danced the way I felt. And I will dance the way I feel. So what should we do in life? We should treat ourselves well. We should build ourselves up. We should surround ourselves with people like you've done for yourself. You've gathered people who love, and they will champion for you because you champion for them. And that's going to show in your WOD set. you know? Even if you beat kill, it's not an inauthentic thing. It doesn't make it a bad thing. It doesn't make it suddenly commercial.
Right.
What matters is exactly what you said. It's how do you feel about it? It's the reflection of that place you're in right now.
Yes.
I mean, you've got 40 episodes?
Yes.
Podcast?
40 episodes.
Down in the DMs? Down in the Danyel Moultons, right?
Yes.
And like, that's, if y'all, like, you want to tell them right now, what is this podcast that you do?
So I have, it's not like this. This is X Games mode. You know what I mean? I'm over here in the McDonald's playground. Yeah. Right? So, I started a podcast in the beginning of 2022, because I was in a place where I felt very disconnected from dance. And that was something that I like didn't experience in that capacity. Like I didn't feel safe to dance. I didn't feel safe to think about dance. I didn't feel safe to like advance my career because of all the things that were going on in the world.
I mean, there's what was happening? We have pandemic,
George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Black Lives Matter, transphobia, xenophobia, everything that was going on with Stop Asian Hate. And then that pull from me being both Black and Japanese and seeing two communities that I am in, like, go against each other and not have any resolve. So it really felt like, and then again, attack on women's rights. Like it literally felt like everything that I was a part of was not accepted or like protected in this country. And I still feel that now to this very, very moment. But it was like the shock of that and seeing all of that happen and realizing that I needed to like communicate in a way that wasn't dance. And dance was that escape for me. So I would be able to dance how I feel. I would be able to, you know, work it out by choreographing. And I didn't have that because I had disbanded Vimo at that time. So I didn't have that outlet at all. So I was like, what do I do? And I was just like, I just like to talk. Yeah. And I realized that through therapy that I needed to just talk things out in order to like realize where I was at. So, and I love sending audio messages and my friends know that I'd be talking.
That's why when I hit you up for the video, that I have a really interesting video coming out soon. You'll see. But she's going to be in it too. Yes. And everyone else I texted, but I made sure to call her, video chat her because I know that FaceTime. She said that this is what she loves. She loves voice talk chats.
I love audio messages and speaking freely in that way. And then I've always wanted to start a podcast, and I like prototyped one in the beginning of quarantine when I was bored because I realized that a lot of the questions that people ask me or that I ask other people were based on accomplishments. And I wanted to learn more about people like just because they were people. And that kind of formulated into, I want to do a podcast one day. And then during this time in January, I was like, I just want a place to speak my unfiltered thoughts. Yeah. And for some reason, I was like, I'm going to talk about like coffee and tea. Like, I'm just going to talk about the difference of that. And then I found the website Anchor and I was like, I'm going to just upload it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to share it with my Instagram followers. And then it manifested into this. Yeah. And now I like put out these episodes and I realized that I just love talking about unfiltered, like I love talking without restriction. And I think that that is something that from my childhood that I thought was like wrong. If you talk out of turn, then you're doing something wrong and you should be punished for that.
Is that a Japanese thing?
One, yes. Okay. That is a household thing, but also in gymnastics, you were not allowed to talk at practice. If you talked, you got yelled at. So even if you were chalking up and you talked with somebody, you would get like from across the gym, you would get yelled at. Wow. So that is trauma speaking right now. Wow. Where like, and this is an event that shaped me in a very like big way is I vividly remember when I found out that Michael Jackson had passed. And my mom told me as I was getting a water break, and I was devastated. And I was like chalking up and I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, Michael Jackson just died. Yeah. And we were talking about that. And the coach I had at the time, I don't know what he was on that day, but he lost it. And he embarrassed me publicly. He yelled at the top of his lungs at me in front of the whole gym and he kicked me out. And he said, get the fuck out of my gym. And my mom, just took me out and like allowed that to happen. So not only was I publicly embarrassed, but I was shown from my mom that that was something that was acceptable, and I was not protected in that moment.
Wow.
So, and also my idol just died.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to process that. So I felt like my feelings weren't valid. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't able to speak. So from that moment, I wasn't able to like express myself in the way that I wanted to.
Yeah.
So now me finding my own agency to just talk about things. I don't have to be prompted to talk about it. It doesn't have to be good to talk about, or I don't have to, I felt like, and also from that moment, a reason why I wanted to be successful or famous was to be like accepted or feel like I could be asked questions that didn't have to do with, like my accomplishments, because I felt like only famous people got interviewed. Only famous people got asked about their childhood or about things like that. So I wanted to be famous so I could just talk about those things. And that was like part of it. So now I've like established myself to a point where like, you don't have to be famous to just speak and communicate. And then also talking about uncomfortable topics. And that's something we really dove into over 2020 is like, what is good to talk about? And sometimes like not knowing things or being ignorant about things is seen as being canceled or like being ignorant. But like I open up those conversations within myself, and I hope that I can open up those questions within other people, because you don't know that you're ignorant until you ask questions or until you're in that environment to where you're like, okay, well, I want to know more. You can't know more unless you know that you don't know. So having those conversations or being open enough to have those like unfiltered thoughts is why I started that podcast within myself. And I just kind of started it. And then my Instagram followers were like, wait, I really like this. And like, I got to connect with so many people through the podcast, and they're like, I actually resonated with what you talked about this morning, or this is something that I've been struggling with. And then like building genuine connections from just strangers where it didn't have to do with dance.
That's
we
the
were just
craziest
connecting
thing.
as human beings, and I like my spirit and my soul just elevated from that, and that's where my podcast came from.
I mean, I actually see an interesting pattern in your life. I see your your gymnastics life and moving away from that because it wasn't as healthy as well, and then moving into dance and having that drive and realizing you couldn't really win stuff on your original team, so you took it in your own hands. You championed yourself, and then in turn finding more love for yourself and for dance, and then you started championing other people. Now, through dance, you didn't feel that it quite had the same original effect. You couldn't escape into it anymore. You weren't feeling that same inspiration. You couldn't even compete with people. This was one of the things you loved.
Exactly.
And you just wanted a space to be yourself. And now all of a sudden, you made a podcast because you wanted to be unfiltered. And by unfiltered, I mean, like, I asked Danielle before the podcast, like, what do you do? She's like, she does phone memos. She records into her phone and she'll pace and walk around.
I walk around that tiny room of mine, and I said, hey, y'all, here's the topic that we picked for today, and I'm just going to talk.
But the best thing about this is it's not what it sounds like when you think like, oh, just listen to Danielle rant, because Danielle picks from a hat. And the topics get like really specific.
They get really specific.
They get like intense.
It's like there's some that are like, what's your favorite color? And then the other one is like, how has love treated you throughout your life, and how does that manifest into how you are now? And that's literally the question that I answered this morning when I recorded it. And there's like I guess maybe like adrenaline rush I have to see like how I adapt to these questions. And like, there are some questions that I'm like, I don't know how to answer this. I'm gonna try my best. And there are some times where I'm not in a good mindset, and I'm like, I would really love to answer this question, but right now I'm not feeling great. And I'm gonna answer it in the way that like I feel right now. And maybe if asked on another day, I would have a more positive outlook. But because I'm not, I'm just gonna speak, and giving myself again that freedom to do that, and also to be able to do that publicly is a challenge for me. Which also like there's something of that competitive spirit of like, you are putting this out like online. And it's not just you saying your free thoughts and doing that. So there is some type of motivation for me to do that. But it really is some type of like release that I'm able to get from being myself, which is something that I'm able to find through dance, just in a different way.
If you're a dancer or someone who is interested in the life of a dancer who is also willing to be vocal and verbally process these things that literally the majority of people in your life would never talk about, like you should listen to this podcast.
Yes.
Down in the DMs.
Down in the DMs.
It's fire.
Yay!
It's super fun. It's super fun.
Woo woo! Yeah, we're out here.
Well, Danielle, as we're wrapping up, did you have any questions you wanted to ask me?
I mean,
it's
we
okay
talked
if you
about.
don't.
I do actually, because I think it relates to Steezy as well.
Okay.
Because you mentioned I think it's very interesting how you're not competitive like naturally, but I remember watching your solo in high school, or I remember watching you in Diamond Bar, and I remember seeing you dance and feeling as if you were competitive. Like, there was no way that you could get to that level, or you could get to that level of discipline for yourself without being competitive. So when did you realize that there was some type of, not imbalance, but when did your non-competitive self realize like, oh, I like to do this and there's some part of me that is competitive?
Most of it, thank you for asking that question, because it really makes me think about it. I don't ever get asked that question. Most of it comes from rebellion, which is funny because I'm not really known as a rebellious person. I'm just a smiley dude. But it came from rebellion from rigidness. It was actually one of the reasons why I didn't want to move on and even audition for GRV.
Wow.
And this comes from a place of absolute love, because GRV was one of my biggest inspirations. That's why I was on the junior crew. And I freaking love David.
Of course.
I love the director, David. But I knew that there is a sort of militant like style, you know? And I mean, not even compared to AOV, but it was. There. And I didn't want to become a GRV dancer during that later time. But during high school also, my good friend and one of my mentors, Jeff Columbus, right? He was the coach of Diamond Bar.
Yep.
And he was my friend Jeremy Columbus was his younger brother, who was actually on the crew.
Yep.
And I just remember throughout high school with having Jeff there, having my teacher during the time, Miss Lindenberg, now Miss Van Horn. She and Jeff both always cultivated a space for us to keep creating within ourselves, to keep creating our own routines. And when we compete with something, it never comes from another choreographer. It's always the students who choreograph it.
Wow.
So aside from my freshman year of high school, which was our Diamond Bar High School all males first year ever in competition, that was the only year that we had other people choreograph, because none of us did. But sophomore, junior, senior, my solo, all these things were choreographed by us. Wow. Right? And I was obsessed with that.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with this freedom of being able to make something that I can really feel I owned. I could really feel was mine. Wow. But I also shared the process with so many supportive people.
Absolutely.
And I realized how much I loved that process, much more than being told what to do. Also,
of course.
I'm not the best at doing other people's choreography. I've got really slow retention when it comes to dance. Okay. I'm not the best match, like clean dancer. I'm the best matcher. I don't have, especially in high school, I didn't have that swag, right? Okay. Like it was like our school was a bunch of nerdy like Asian kids, right? And so like none of that other stuff would be authentic if I'm learning how to, if I'm like grooving and doing all these things, like that wasn't me. Yeah. You know? We were calculated, but we were anime nerds, and we just loved being silly about things, and we loved making concepts before moves and building entire things off that, which is why every year our set was really integrated with the concept, because it was concept first. Yes. It wasn't routine fit into concept or anything. And so I think like my obsession with not being rigid and seeing all these other schools getting their routines from literally my idol choreographers. Right. They were bringing in the coolest people to choreograph, and somehow we were winning. Yep. Period. How did we the kids who choreographed beat my idol choreographers? Because we didn't beat them. We just beat all the other kids at being authentic.
Oh my God.
And that's so easy to compete with. Not easy to win, but easy to compete with. We were so when we won, that was us.
Yo, not me crying right now.
That was, and so the solo you saw me do. Yes. I danced to Jamie Cullum's "Singing in the Rain." Right, that's the one you're talking about. Yes. And I won second place. First place was a girl named Alex Kessinger. Okay. Freaking goddess. She is so amazing. And it was out of 40 people in state championships. and I was one of 2 boys that competed.
Okay.
And I'm the only one who choreographed my own routine. Actually, it wasn't choreographed really. I choreographed around 50% of it, and 50% was freestyle because that's my comfort zone.
Period.
You know, and I got that second place when I heard my name announced. But like literally, like when they were announcing the top positions, they got to like 3rd place and stuff, and I was like, oh, I didn't even make it. You know, but I had so much fun. I remember walking on that stage, and then like I didn't invite anyone either because I had a really hard time like bringing people to like celebrate me and to support me.
Wow.
My parents got so pissed. I didn't even tell my parents about it. Yeah, like
what? Oh my god.
And then so I was like, I didn't win anything, and then second place was called, and I just started bawling. And also, I'm like jumping.
No.
But when I walked on stage on the floor in the gym, I looked up and I saw all my like school friends. They had a sign that said Clado. One of my friends had like my fat baby picture I post everywhere, like just holding it up. He got in trouble for that. They thought the people there thought it was the Indonesian smoking baby. There's this like Indonesian baby that like smokes packs of cigarettes. It was on YouTube, and they thought it was that. Nope, just fat me as a kid. She felt so apologetic when she's like, "What did you do with that?" And it was like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
It's like, that's the Indonesian like smoking baby. Like, oh, that's me. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But
wow,
I was just so overwhelmed by that, and I couldn't believe I got anywhere in that place, even though like Diamond Bar was always like we were always first place at championships and everything.
Yep.
But I couldn't believe that because I didn't even like have the friend assistance like there. It wasn't even leaning on other people there. But I sure as heck during practices showed people stuff. I asked my friend Jeremy Chan to show me how to do this certain like leg move so I can do floor work because my floor was trash. So it actually, again, it wasn't all me. It was always like I always had these people around me that were so supportive of my individuality, and my passion for not looking like anyone else and being the most like me was so strong because I had those friends. I had Jeff Columbus, I had Miss Van Horn, I just had such a beautiful foundation of love and support for me being me. And that's what I still value the most right now.
I'm about to play this back when this is aired. Oh my God. Wow. First of all, thanks for sharing that.
Thanks for asking.
Because that's like, especially when you talking about Diamond Bar, like that feeling of, like we beat my idols. But we beat it for being us.
Yeah.
And also like cultivating that culture from being a high school coach as well.
Yeah.
That is so important to give kids at that age the agency to be like, no, we're going to create it. Yeah. And this is something that we've done, whether that be someone choreographs and we all do it, like something we're doing together. So you built that community and that's, oh my God, I have goosebumps. That's beautiful.
I joined into that community and was able to help cultivate it more. But like blessed that I had such people that they never told me my moves were bad. Right. They've always suggested better options, you know?
I can't. Okay, well, last one. I do have one more question. Okay. I'm sorry for
No, it's fine.
You know what I mean? We out here, we're talking on that mic or whatever. Yeah. But in the same sense, you asked me earlier about that voice in my head and how that kind of evolved or softened as Vimo kind of expanded. In the same way for you, how has that voice or how has that like support system for you expanded with Steezy? Because this has been such a long journey and now it's come to the point. I mean, again, you're about to hit like what, 1 million subs?
1 million subs on YouTube.
So from the beginning where your mindset was at as the beginning of Steezy started to now, how is that inner voice kind of changed for you?
Remember when I said that I never brought people in and I just felt so blessed by it? Yeah. I'm so much less afraid to ask for support. Oof. Like because how cool is it that I literally just have people that like want to give me support?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's such a privilege to have. And now, instead of expecting, remember we had this conversation individually, like we were just on the couch somewhere and we were chatting before a few months ago, but we were talking about like the expectation of other people closing those gaps in your life. Yes. And how that is something that just eats you alive. It's I don't say the term that's toxic very much, but that is toxic. Yeah. That is the thing that's going to keep you away from people because you're waiting for them to text you. You're waiting for them to show up to your event without you asking. Oof. some people got lives.
Yeah.
And it's such a privilege when they do close that gap without
Absolutely.
you asking. But if that's our expectation for life, we're not going to get, first of all, a lot of things that we want. We're not going to get that.
Correct.
Because we want it.
Yep.
I want my friends to be there.
Period.
But, you know, I want them to do it for me. I want them to
Right.
like want to be there. Like, no, a lot of them want to be there. Some of them are just bad at keeping schedules.
Yep.
Some of them are focused on the thing that's really important in their life, which they should be. And if you ask them, some will be like, oh, wait, I can move that around.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I am so much more okay with celebrating myself. Wow. That voice in my head doesn't say like Clay, you did good, but you know, you need people to be there. You need that feedback. Now it's like, Clay, hit them up.
Yeah.
Tell
Say
them to be
something.
here,
Yeah.
you know? And then also, instead of like being in my mind about like, I'm just going to celebrate myself.
Yeah.
I'm also in a space that's so much quicker to celebrate other people.
Oh, that's
And that really allows me to also appreciate myself more.
Of course.
To me, honestly, it's not altruistic.
Yeah.
I'm not in a place where it's like I do good for other people without receiving back. No,
Yeah,
I feel
no,
really
no,
good
no.
about making other people feel good.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have found that I'm okay with that. I'm going to be okay with uplifting people, and that
Yes.
makes me feel good.
Yeah, period.
And I don't do it every single day. I do it when it's real. I do
Yeah,
it when
when it
it's
feels
authentic,
right.
and I'm
Yes.
just going to word vomit
Yeah.
my love for people.
Yes.
And I think doing that allows me to appreciate every person that just enters into my life. It allows me to also not think like, will they come? Will they do this? Well, no.
Right.
I've loved on this person. I'll ask them. They can't show up. I've also told myself by telling someone else, like how you do your podcast, I've outwardly processed to another person what I appreciate about them.
Yep.
If they don't show up to my stuff, I still love
Yeah.
them. And I've acknowledged that through speaking it. So
Beautiful.
that voice in my head has matured into a place that's it's just so much easier to live without expectation of other people closing gaps that I can close for myself if I'm just being respectful and loving.
But and here we sit.
And here we
It's
sit.
Steezy Studio. Oh, that is, again, thank you for sharing that. That is so beautiful. What an honor to be here. Like, it really is an honor to be here. Like, even before I got here today, I was just looking at the episode with Philip Shabib. And again, I mentioned before that even before I started dancing, I watched So You Think You Can Dance.
Yeah.
And like, I told my mom this morning when I left, I was like, guess who did this, the same thing that I did before this? Philip Shabib. And she freaked out. She was like, what? And then she was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But again, to be at a point where I can be at this place in my career, but also to like have a good conversation with a good friend and just to really feel safe to express is like, it's like wild to like be in this moment that I could feel like I've achieved something that I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
And again, little Danyel that felt like I needed to be famous to be interviewed or to be famous to speak freely is being fulfilled right now in this moment. So, wow. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. One last thing, one last random.
Give it to me.
It's kind of an affirmation, but
give it to me.
So, do you know how many followers you have? I don't actually. I'm not 100% sure.
Last time I checked, it was 19K.
19K. That's a whole lot of people. But do you know what's really interesting?
What?
Is that your 19K, and I'm just thinking from like tech company like ideas, has a ridiculous amount of engagement, a huge amount of engagement. I'm telling you that people with your number of followership in there do not get the numbers you get. And you know what that means?
What?
It means that the vanity number of followers is less applicable to you because you have heavier impact. Wow. You have people that engage with you every single video. You've got 100, 200 comments on something, you know, like screw the likes. No, you've got people who love you and you have this impact even in the social media sense that a lot of people they don't know that about themselves, because I see people with 100K followers and they don't even get your engagement. Wow. So your engagement and the actual like outpouring of love is actually ridiculous in a data sense. Wow. Engagement rate is huge on yours. So just letting you know that maybe on the vanity number sense of followership, you know, 19K isn't 30K, isn't 50K, isn't 100K, but it is literally the most impactful 19K I've ever seen, ever. People love you.
God, that is Ooh, that is wild to think about. That really is, because that does matter to me.
Yeah.
Like, I do, like, numbers and likes and followers are so important, and especially as a dancer, as a choreographer, because people look at that when they book. Gigs. Yeah, you know what I mean, to get books. But to know that most of those people are engaging with my work consistently means a lot, rather than having a large number of people that just follow me just because, they saw something cool once and then it's like a ghost follow. But that means a lot. Would you rather
be known or respected? You are respected, and through your podcast being better known on an individual level. Just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for always being your authentic self.
Thank you.
Being the ultimate hype person.
Wow. And, no, you've been the ultimate hype person for me. No, really, like, even like you mentioned the couch conversations that we had months ago, or even when I come in to do something for Steezy and we end up just like lightly catching up, those conversations stick with me to the point where I'm using it now in my interpersonal relationships. And the conversations that we've had have literally like shifted and saved some of the relationships with my friends and family to this day. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Wow.
Danyel, it's been a pleasure. We're gonna go work on.
We're gonna go dance.
That other crazy video.
We're gonna go dance.
This.
Y'all will see it soon.
But do you have any interesting projects coming up? Just World of Dance or
World of Dance. Got my podcast. You know where to find me on Instagram. Yep. I'm here at Steezy. You know what I mean?
Take classes.
You know what I mean? Take that class. Take them tutorials. Mm-hmm. Go peep me in the 3 choreographers, because I be a veteran on there.
She's a veteran.
And it's not going to stop, because I'm going to keep coming back, and y'all cannot get rid of me. And that's a promise. But yeah, other than that, that's it. That's it. Right. I'm happy to be where I'm at right now.
Love that. Thank you, Danyel.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Steezy podcast, and we'll see you in the next one.
Woo-hoo!
Adios.
Thanks again for tuning in. Again, this podcast was brought to you by us, Steezy Studio. Be sure to get your dance on today, too. So if you want to get some exercise in, take a Steezy sweat class. If you want to just vibe out and feel good, you definitely need to check out a good groove along. Or if you're up for the challenge, it's time to finally start one of those advanced classes you've been eyeballing. We'll see you in class. This podcast was produced and edited by Josh Jang, and the theme music for the podcast is Tempo by Neiman.